She said, in all these years of missing him, you forget to be sad on a day like today. It's where it's like, you might, some of these ladies would say, you saved me. I want to say, well, you saved me. And she walked away and she said, Mom, is this why you do this? And I said, what do you mean, honey? She said, because of how it makes you feel. And I said, well, how do you feel? She said, I feel really good. Like I could cry.
All right. So today we are here with Ashley Manning, founder of the Widows Project. Ashley, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So tell us a little bit about the Widows Project for someone who has never heard of it.
So essentially, we raise money within our community and the other communities that are doing the project. And it's an entirely volunteer-based organization. And we raise money. We have signups for volunteers, and we ask people in the community to nominate people who have lost their spouse and could just use a little extra love on Valentine's Day. We come together over the course of like 3 days and assemble gift baskets and flowers. And then on the 14th, our little army goes out and delivers this year 1,500 to the Charlotte community.
Wow. 1,500 bouquets.
Yes. That's a lot. I think like, 1,500. And then I think, if we actually set them all down on the floor together, they cover a lot of area.
You should try that.
I know.
That would make for a really nice photo.
It would, like a sea of flowers. The problem is, it's such a big logistical situation that we're building and sending out, like the building of the flowers is the last part so that they're the freshest for our nominees.
So my favorite thing is that you're doing this in your copious amounts of free time, right?
Yeah.
You definitely don't have an entire family, multiple children, and a lot of things going on.
No, I told Jordan earlier that my brain could spin off my neck at any minute. Like it might just go, woo, there it is.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's probably the most rewarding thing I'll get to do in my life. And I love that, even though I kind of neglect my kids a little bit during these couple of weeks leading up to it, they would have it no other way. So.
All four of them, I might add. All four of them. Mom is a hero.
I have a 13-year-old, 11-year-old, 9-year-old, and 5-year-old. And our 5-year-old could be coming in here to join me at any minute.
I love that. We'd like to meet him. Tell him to come on in. Before we started this, we were saying we have, kind of children roaming at all times. I think that's give a busy mom a job, right?
Yes. Yes.
So tell me a little bit about why you started the Widows Project.
Well, the year of COVID, so like 2020, my third child, Marcus, was starting, I think, his 3 or 4-year-old preschool class. And when I met the teacher, all my older kids had gone through this same school, and, just small talk. Oh, have you been here? Yeah, Tyson and Mia did kindergarten and TK and everything else. And she said, oh, did you hear Dorothy Keith's husband has cancer again? That was Tyson and Mia's teacher. And I said, no, I didn't. Like, I knew it had been a tough run the first time. And she said, yeah. And she said, I also lost my husband to cancer. And I could tell, it still hurt her. I didn't ask when, was it recent? But it still was something that she felt like sharing with me. So fast forward several months later to Valentine's Day, and I was out getting the Valentines for the kids' classes. And, we get teachers chocolates and things, but I thought to myself, oh, I wonder if she's going to get flowers. Like, I'd like to make her something really special because I bet today's really hard for her. And it was just a really organic thing. I mean, it was in the grocery store. I thought, oh, I should do this. And I ran to the dollar store after that and got some vases. And I brought it to her and I said, I just want you to know that I know how hard today must be for you. And I think just acknowledging her pain made such a difference. So a month later, the world shut down. They didn't go back to preschool. And at the end of the year, because of COVID, that's why, 2020, at the end of the year, they did a drive-by and she just hugged me and said, I just want you to know how much that meant. And that really planted a seed for what the next years would hold. I started a small business in November. So the following holiday season, still in 2020. And as Pretty Things by A.E. Manning, a little floral business out of my home, which was kind of like, you have 3 kids and I have 4 kids, and I was a stay-at-home mom, and I just did something, because at that time I'm homeschooling everybody. It was pretty much like, Groundhog Day again and again. And I lost a lot of myself during that time. So I started this little flower business and had a little following. And by Valentine's Day, I just went on my stories and I very basically typed, hey guys, have you thought about these people? Like, there's probably people that Valentine's Day is going to be really hard. What if we try to get them flowers and gifts? And the response was awesome. Like, I didn't have a ton of followers at the time, but probably almost everybody that I did have was on board with it. And we, over probably 3 or 4 weeks, we raised the money and all the gifts and the flowers to deliver to 121 widows just in the South Charlotte area. And that year was like mayhem. It was raining for 3 days in a row. It was freezing. We were still in COVID protocol. So people are outside. We have masks on. We had fires everywhere burning to keep everybody warm. And my widow list was like in my phone, so-and-so's sister, like the lady at the end of the street. That's about as detailed as it got. So where I knew who these people were, not everybody did.
Right.
I sat there that day, and now all the arrangements are ready to go out. And they're like, okay, well, where are they going? I'm like, well, here's the passwords to all my apps in my phone. And you're just going to have to go on my email and my Instagram and my Facebook and then my business accounts. And they're all in there. And the girls looked at me like, we are going to strangle you.
Yeah.
And you need help. So the same girls that were there that year are still the ones that helped me out with this outreach 5 years later.
Wow. So 120 bouquets, did you say your first year?
Yes.
That's pretty significant.
Yeah. Like even that very first year, people would say, how do you know so many widows?
Yeah, I was going to say, so the first year, how did you, I don't want to say crowdsource, but how did you, for lack of a better term, crowdsource your widows? They were all nominated via the people who were raising the funds?
Yeah. I mean, and if you didn't, from the beginning, we always said that this outreach is about time, treasure, and talent. So if you don't have the means to make a donation, you can still nominate somebody. And if you don't have the time to volunteer, you can send a donation. So it was really open to anybody. At the Trader Joe's, there was a woman that she was kind of mean to me sometimes, and I'm pretty chatty to everybody. And the one day I said something about, Valentine's Day, and she said, well, I hate Valentine's Day. My husband died, 3 years ago. And just like that, I realized why she was so ornery,
Mm-hmm.
And she hated that holiday. And she was the first bouquet delivered the first year. My husband, we did hers, and it went, I made it myself the night before, because she was working. Those people work these crazy shifts, like 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. And he delivered it to the Trader Joe's at like 8 a.m. on Valentine's Day. She walked around the Trader Joe's and told everybody about it and showed everybody her gifts. And it was really cool to see that's how it started. So, I mean, that was just somebody I met in the grocery store. So I would say to you, like, Bridget, do you know anybody? Or you might say, I don't. And then tomorrow you might text me and say, you know what? Actually, my daughter's ballet teacher's a widow. I didn't even think of her yesterday.
Right.
And just very organically, let us know. I knew off the bat that we had 3 people in my neighborhood that I actually had never met, but I knew were widows just from other neighbors telling us. They were not my direct neighbors, but in my neighborhood. So we included them, and the lady in the bakery at our grocery store. And I mean, just really our people right around us.
It's really incredible that not only are you doing this incredible service for these women, but you also are shining a light on the fact that there are so many more widows amongst us probably than we're even thinking about, right? Or even someone who's been lost a spouse and then been remarried. That still exists for them, and it's still there.
It does. That's so interesting you say that, because, most of them consider themselves widows, even if they have been remarried.
Oh, for sure.
The teacher from the very first year was remarried. I didn't even know she was remarried, to be honest with you. It still hurt her in a way that, her children's father and the love of her life was gone.
Yeah. Someone said something really interesting to me, a widow that I had met. And she said, the thing that's so hard about, and I feel like this is going to be a tearjerker conversation, so I'm going to try to hold it back. But the thing that's so hard about losing a spouse is that, people can break up or people can separate. But if you lose a spouse, the love has nowhere to go.
Oh.
Right? There's nowhere for it to go. So I feel like even if you have remarried, there was no rhyme or reason for this to happen to you. So it's so nice that even though if someone has moved on with their life, you're really recognizing the fact that they went through this. Yeah. And then that love still exists on Valentine's Day, right?
Right. Yeah. It's neat. Over these years in this area in particular, that this is a really big community event. We've really flipped the switch on Valentine's Day being about those who have love. And instead of just that, honoring the people that lost their love.
Yeah.
And that's a neat thing because our volunteer base has built so much and there's so many women here. And I would venture to say that not one of them that is married goes home with any expectation other than gratitude that they have their husband. I mean, myself, even I can't, when I started making flowers, my husband stopped buying them for me. So,
well, right.
Right.
I work for a floral company. We're not getting flowers around here very often.
But I haven't thought one time, when we come home from that event, oh, what's for me? How are you celebrating me today? We've just poured so much of our love into these people that are just heartbroken on this day. And, it's just acknowledging people's pain. I love this one quote. It says, unexpected kindness is the greatest gift you can give to someone. And on a day when people aren't expecting it and they're hurting and you show up, it can change their life. It can change their day. It can change their life. It can save a life, not just within this widow ministry, but showing up for people in pain. I mean, it's a real thing. My hope with this whole outreach is that we consider other people every day. I think I don't know if I told you, but the one year somebody wrote to me and she said, can I nominate my best friend? She's not a widow, but her husband left her. And so she's kind of a widow. And I'm like, I can't really, that's a can of worms. And then there's a lot of divorcees. And I said, but I think it's really nice that you've thought about her today.
Yeah.
You've thought about oh, shoot, this is going to be really hard for Sarah on Valentine's Day. And she wrote me later and said, I wanted you to know I did get her flowers. And, just planting that seed of recognizing pain and finding ways to serve others.
Yeah. And also rather than, turning inward and thinking about what you're getting for yourself and what someone's gifting you. And I'm sure with those 4 small people in your home who are watching, they are learning through mom that on a day that they celebrate, there's also a flip side to that, right? Mm-hmm. And the flip side is that someone might not have what they have to celebrate. And that goes for every single holiday. That goes for any holiday across the board. That goes for any special occasion. Yes. I have a friend who lost her dad, and every single Father's Day, I send her a present. Because I'm like, this is a hard day for her. And I feel so lucky that I have my own dad. Mm-hmm. So it not only does it instill this real seed of gratitude for you, for yourself and what you have innately, but it also makes you think the other way. And I'm sure that you're also bestowing that beautiful gift for your children.
Yeah. It's really neat. They look forward to this, and they get to get out of school. Which,
I'm like, are they involved? Tell us about that.
They're totally involved. My daughter's a real nerd and loves school, and it's has to be early for everything. And even she's like, I want to miss for this, and she has her little friends, and they have their jobs they've done over the years, pulling apart all the buckets that are stacked and stuck together. It kills your fingers.
Those floral buckets get stuck.
You know the buckets.
I know exactly what bucket you're talking about.
So Mia says, when do you think I'm going to outgrow doing the buckets?
You're going to graduate from the bucket.
Now. I'm like, well, this year, a lot of the kids are off. A lot of our schools are off on Friday because it's President's Weekend. And I said, depending on how many other little kids are there, you might be off this year. She's like, oh, I know that I always have to fill the buckets and pull them apart. And my kids love checking people in. The last few years, they've been doing that. Some of my third son, they like to sell the T-shirts. They're little hustlers out there. We have little shirts that just say, Valentine's Day, Widow Outreach, Watch Love Grow. And
I'm like, please send me a link. I want one.
Oh yeah, they're cute. Well, this year they're a little different, but they're real soft cotton, and they're something you'd like to wear. And it's cute. I'll send you one for sure.
Yeah, I'm feeling like a little bit inspired. Like maybe we need a widows outreach in the Chicagoland area, which is where I live. We need to talk about that.
It's kind of like my dream that somehow we could do that.
We should talk.
I told Jordan earlier, I really love some really, really rich person to just leave us a lot of money, and we could just use it to make a lot of people happy.
Just over the years, right?
Yes, just every year. But, at the end of the day, like, it is an outreach, and we do raise money, and, it's a lot of work. And I'm hoping just as the years have gone on, we've found more efficient ways to do things. And, that's really exciting. Even just writing down protocols of different committees that you need, so that I can, if you came to me and said, hey, Ash, what do? I would say, here you go. Like, this is what you need to do. This is the amount of people you need to have. I would hope, in the back of my heart, like, I would love if you came to me to be able to say, hey, we have the funds. We're going to give you the flowers and the vases for 50 widows on your first year. And you're going to need to do X, Y, and Z, find your volunteers, fill your gift bags with local gifts, which is really important because that's how you build community, by including local gifts. And kind of like give you the framework. And then the next year you don't get that gift again of the flowers and the vases, but by then you kind of know what you're doing. You can fundraise. So that would be my goal. And, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm like, you just might have a taker. We'll have to continue that conversation after this one.
Yeah. It's just so beautiful because there's no one has like any ill intentions. These days it's so hard to find places that you can serve, and that, there's just no selfish motivation that I feel. I have people that just come up to me and they're like, I just feel here, like when I'm serving, like it doesn't matter what I wear or who I am or what my last name is, or and unfortunately, in a lot of ways that you do fundraise and you serve, a lot of those things do matter. And like on those days, the only things that matter is that you're there, that you're smiling. We hug. This year at our little committee meeting, one of the girls whose mom is a widow, who stumbled upon this the first year, her name is Keely. I wanted to do name tags for the people that are widows. So our volunteer base has really grown to be a lot of widows. So they get a gift. They're like, oh my gosh, I want to be a part of this. Can I come? Can I bring friends? So they're going to wear a little boutonniere this year. And that's going to kind of identify that they are a widow. And hopefully, if you walked past me and I had one on, you might just want to hug me, or you might just want to ask about my husband, or, I want to know my story. And I'm hoping that, kind of having that symbol will help, facilitate conversations and healing and love for our widows that are there serving.
There has to be something cathartic about that, right? About having the ability to go and take care of someone who's perhaps in a position that they were in the year before, or the year that they received their first gift from you. So have you seen friendships grow out of this community? People who didn't know each other that now know each other and have forged relationships based on volunteering?
Yes, for sure. Last year, our NBC station here in Charlotte, they actually interviewed several girls that ended up working at a table together. One of the girls is my age and she has 4 children. One of the other ones is a little bit older than me. She has 3 children, and one of them is pregnant.
Wow.
And they had, when her husband was diagnosed with cancer, they saved sperm so that she would maybe be able to have a baby one day. And so he has been gone over a year, but she had done the IVF transfer, and there she was with her belly. And, if you saw her, you probably wouldn't think, oh, she's probably a widow. But the 3 of them, worked side by side all day, and they actually got interviewed together And one of them is our widow liaison now. And her job is just kind of bridging the gap of how do we care for you outside of Valentine's Day? Would you like to meet other widows? Would you like to be in a small community with widows your age? Would you be interested in mentoring a new widow?
Yeah.
I've had people outside of North Carolina just write to me, this young mom, I have a new baby and I lost my husband and I have family here, but no one understands. And, I wished I had somebody in my back pocket that I could say, this is your girl, for both of them.
Yep.
This is your girl and this is your girl. And,
Absolutely.
you're going to help her. So we're trying to bridge the gap that way. Can we pray for you? What can we do outside of Valentine's Day? This Thursday, actually, we're having a bracelet making get together where the bracelets that, when we ask somebody to donate to the baskets, $1,500 is a lot of anything. Right. So I don't expect somebody to donate 1,500 handmade bracelets, but this company has donated several hundred every year. And I reached out and I said, what if we bought all the beads and I secure a location and I get volunteers? Would you donate 2 hours of your time to facilitate us making the bracelets? So we're going to make 2,500 of them. They're going to go to the other locations in the country. And I had the Sign Up Genius split by widow and regular volunteers. So we actually have 30 widows volunteering and then 30 just regular, anybody. But I wanted to make sure that there was space for them to come and have community. And, the widow volunteer spot, filled up faster than the other one. So I know that there's a need. And of course, that they could sign up for the other spot, but I wanted to be sure that we saved room for them.
It's probably a space that they can come and feel really comfortable with like-minded people. To your point about someone not understanding, they know if they come and they're making these bracelets and there's a sign up and there's a portion that's for other widows, that there's going to be someone who understands what they've been through.
Yes. It's unreal. Like last year, there was this little old lady, and I know her daughter. She's 93, I want to say. Mary Lou is her name. And she came over to me, and I think I shared with you earlier, but not here on this podcast. Our volunteer spots for the actual outreach fill up so fast.
Yeah.
I pushed the links out at 9:00 at night a few weeks ago, and by noon the next day, 917 spots were full. And people say, what do you pay your volunteers? I'm like, no, we actually thought about asking them to pay $5 to volunteer because
that's a good money.
We're still raising money to be able to do everything.
Exactly.
Like we haven't met our fundraising goal, but we have the people. So Mary Lou came to me and she said, I don't want to go home, but I know that there were no more spots in the afternoon shift. Can I stay? And I said, of course you can stay. She said, okay, well, I'll sweep. I'll just sweep.
93.
Yeah.
I'll just sweep.
I said, you just need to make sure that you will promise me that you'll eat something and that you'll sit down and have a soda or a coffee and then you can stay. And little Mary Lou has signed up for every shift this year.
Oh my goodness.
And she lost her husband really late in life. I mean, I think this is her third Valentine's Day without him. And some people might say, that's not the same. It's like a young widow. They had so much life together, but she doesn't know life without him. It really makes you stop judging people and trying to act like you understand, their pain and the things that they're enduring, because I would say it's just as hard for her at 93 on that day as it is for somebody who's 42.
Well, think about how many Valentine's Days she had with him.
I know.
Where he celebrated her. Right. So it might, I don't know. I don't know what would be worse. What is the general age range of, what's the youngest widow that you guys that you have seen? And then what's, 93 is pretty advanced.
This is kind of unreal, but I went to Virginia Tech and I was in a sorority, and, you have early on somebody called your Rose Buddy. I was a Delta Zeta. And my Rose Buddy's name was Amanda Lombardo. We were good friends in college, and then she moved to Charlotte, and she left Charlotte, and then came back to Charlotte with her husband, Aaron Hewitt. And he was on this, what is it called? Like the Camino del Toro, like the trek in Spain that's like a religious
Yes.
You know what I'm talking
Okay.
about? I can't remember exactly the name. I wasn't planning on talking about this. But otherwise, I maybe would have looked it up for you.
No, don't worry about it.
But Amanda is my age. I mean, she was my grade. She was my major.
Yeah.
And he went on that trip, and she was supposed to meet him at the end of it for a vacation. And he died on the trip. He had a heart attack. He was an Ironman. He was he was a orthopedic PA, super healthy. And she lost him. And, just having somebody that I knew that was my age, our girlfriends from college delivered to her that first year. So she has this will be her third Valentine's Day as a widow. So we were probably 39 when it happened. And I know her, what are the odds?
That's insane. So it hits home for you, right?
Does.
You've seen it.
There's another lady. I don't know how old she is. She's younger than Amanda though. And her husband died really quick of cancer. And I know she's really struggling and still is, but I want to say her second child was an infant. And actually, one of the very first widows of this whole project was a girl named Jordan Meeks. And I had read about her on a community prayer list, and she had said, "Hey, I just could use some extra prayer. My husband has colon cancer, and I'm pregnant with our first baby." And she kind of went there anonymously, not really knowing anybody. And actually, our little community that had never met her threw a virtual baby shower for her. And we got all kinds of money and gift cards and gifts, and her friend picked it up and brought it to her. And he ended up passing about a month before the baby came. And so I want to say she was probably 27, 26, young. That was her college sweetheart. And the cool thing is, he died right before COVID. So, I mean, that year that I gave it to Miss Kathy before this started is right when he died. So she was one of the first widows. And she's now remarried, and she has another baby, and she comes and volunteers, and she's so beautiful. And it's so beautiful to see, her happy and having endured so much at a young age,
Yeah. But to your point, still identifying as a widow, right?
Yeah.
She lost her first husband. She lost the father of her baby. That was a moment in her life. The love goes nowhere, as we've discussed. It's still there, and it's Valentine's Day, and you're celebrating that.
Yeah.
What would you say is the most impact you've ever had on someone? If you could tell me about your number one widow that you helped and the reaction that they had, who would it be? And you don't have to name a name, but what would that story look like?
So I would tell you the very first year, by the end of the third day, I was so exhausted. That first year, I did my orders for my business also. Wow. So I had the volunteers there, but yet I was cranking away bouquet after bouquet. I mean,
just trying to run a business and then also doing an enormous charity project.
I mean, my husband has videos and pictures of me outside working in the cold with a fire at 2 a.m. between the days of the outreach, trying to get these orders out that were paid for. I never did flowers again for my business after that first year, but I didn't know what I was getting into. So, it was the end of the whole outreach, and we were exhausted, and it had rained, like I said, and I got a shower, and my hair was so wet, and I put on pajamas, and I had the last one. And I think I had actually told somebody to deliver this one, but I told you my first year, my list was the lady on the corner in the yellow house. And so that one comes back. Actually, we don't know which one that is. I'm okay, fine, we'll take it. So my little guy at that time was only one. So the 3 older kids jump in the car. It's only 5 houses down, but it was pouring down rain. And I kind of just wanted it to be over. I was exhausted.
Yeah, you were done.
I was done.
Done.
And I was like, Tyson and Mia, take this up to the thing. And when she gives it, give it to her and tell her Happy Valentine's Day. How brash I felt. I didn't know what was going to happen.
Exhausted, though.
I was exhausted, and I'm just being totally honest. So,
we like that.
Ring the doorbell, and she didn't come. And so I'm out the thing. I said, just set it on the porch. And then they got back to the car, and I thought, I don't know if we should set it down. This little lady, we had lived here at that point for probably 8 years, and we had never seen her. She didn't do trick or treat or any of the things, but I knew that she was a widow. So I get back out of the car to go collect the stuff, and I thought, we'll just try the next day. And she opened the door, and she was in her house coat She's older,
right?
90, in her 90s. She said, oh, and she had her walker. And she said, I'm sorry it took me so long to get here. And then she said, I can't believe I'm in my house coat. I wasn't expecting any visitors.
Right.
And the kids and I were standing there and we said, well, we just wanted to bring this to you for Valentine's Day. And, the deliveries are it's, they vary, but the overall sentiment is just confusion. I'm like, wait, what?
What? Why?
Me?
Who?
Why?
How?
What is this? Did I order this? I'm not paying for this, or who sent me this? So we explained to her that, this was an outreach that was new, and we wanted her to know that we knew that today was a hard day for her and that we loved her and that her pain was never forgotten. And she said, I think I'm going to cry. And then she just started to cry, like whew. And she said, in all these years of missing him, you forget to be sad on a day like today. So it had been so long for her that she might not even known it was Valentine's Day.
Right.
And then we stood there and talked, and she laughed and said, shame on my children. They never did this for me. They never thought to bring me flowers. And we, talked a little longer, and we actually, became friends with her after that day. But we were walking away, and my little girl, Mia, now my oldest son, Tyson, has my heart. He welled up. He was crying, a little boy, 8 years old, standing there crying because he felt that emotion. And Mia had never felt that, the tears of joy. I remember each of them when they had tears of joy for their first time. And she walked away and she said, Mom, is this why you do this? And I said, what do you mean, honey? She said, because of how it makes you feel. I said, well, how do you feel? She said, I feel really good. I could cry. We made her so happy. And Mia was just a little girl. She was 6.
Yeah.
And she felt that joy in her heart for the first time, the joy of serving and of giving back and of really seeing the impact that loving others has on somebody. So for me, that's probably my favorite memory. And, God kind of slapped me in the face with it. I had good intentions, but I was tired, and sometimes it's just a good reminder that you just, the blessing that we get from being a part of something like this is sometimes and arguably even as great or greater than the people that we're serving.
Yeah. We say in our house all the time, the best thing you can teach your kids is an attitude of gratitude, right?
Yeah.
I feel so lucky for everything that I have, and I'm going to focus on that. And I'm not going to focus on what I don't have.
Right.
And I'm going to utilize those daily interactions with people as a reminder of how lucky I am on a day-to-day basis. So maybe that's what your daughter felt that day, and felt what innate, real, organic kindness can feel like when you bestow it on someone else.
Right. And as a mom, we can't teach that.
No.
You can't teach them to feel a
and you have 4
way.
children. So you can try to teach them to be kind to each other. You can try to teach them to be kind to others. But sometimes the life lessons are in between the madness and the chaos of what you're doing every day. And they just slap you in the face.
Yeah. And then you realize how important it is to lead by example. You realize they're watching everything that we do. They're feeling things along with us. And, I can't think of a better way to disciple them. Someday they're going to leave our house, and we just have to pray and hope that we did enough things right that they're going to be okay.
No, I'm have they seen enough kindness? Are they going to be self-sufficient, happy people? That's the goal.
Yeah.
So how do you balance? This is a really good question and a nice segue. How do you balance running a business and a nonprofit while raising 4 children?
I do the best I can. I'm not perfect at all. Last year and this year, I've completely shut down my business after January 1st because I just can't, you have the looming orders and things, in the back of your head, and it distracts for a good part. But Valentine's Day is kind of hard because no one's really thinking about it. You're in the flower industry. You have Halloween, then you have Thanksgiving, then you have Christmas, and everyone's just trying to get through the holidays. And no one's, we've tried to kind of start working on things earlier and earlier, like in the fall, but people's brain and their hearts just aren't there.
It's hard until after the holidays. We see this too.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
And even like, just as having children and how much money we spend at Christmas. And it's like, oh my gosh, like can't donate to something right now. Like I got to pay my credit card from Christmas. So it's really hard to start a lot earlier. As the years go on, I hope that we do, because there is good momentum right after it ends.
Yeah.
But, I just do a lot of it myself right now. So, the like behind the scenes stuff, I've gotten better at it. I have really good girls on my committee that are so supportive and give so much time. But basically from like the second week of January until February, it is like a rat race. I mean, day. And I'm last night up trying to think about things and, write them down, write them on my hand. I was telling Jordan earlier, somebody asked me all my emails yesterday. I returned with, I'm going to get all my thoughts on paper tomorrow and I'll circle back. Like, I can't even reply to you right now, but I'm not ignoring you and I'm going to get it on paper and then we're going to go to the next thing. So
yeah. I said, in my personal email, I'm going to start doing like an out of office due to 2 sick children and like a demanding job or business right now. I mean, I think that we need to normalize saying to people, I hear you and I know that you're asking me something and I'm going to answer you, but I just can't do that at this time.
Right. I'm not ignoring you. I'm acknowledging that you're asking me this. I'm planning to get back to you. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot at this time of year. I think every day this week, I'm pretty much all my hours working on this.
I'm excited that we stole an hour with you.
Oh yeah. Well, this is the best part, getting to share it.
Getting to talk about it. So why do you feel like this is, if I had to ask you, what's the number one reason that you think that this is so important to continue year after year? Because I do not foresee you stopping this anytime soon. I think that it's just growing and gaining momentum. What's your number one reason for continuing year after year? Though you do have a demanding personal life and you also have a business, what is it?
I mean, on this side of heaven, this is the closest you feel to heaven. It is. I mean, the people that you serve, the hugs, the tears, the stories, it's more rewarding than any work I will ever do anywhere else. I mean, and I get to be with my kids and, at my flower studios at my house and they get to see me work hard. And sometimes be tired and cranky. I think that's important for them to see too. Life's not a cakewalk. No one's just going to hand it all over to you. You need to work hard. Loving our neighbors is a big part of life. And, you can talk to some people, they have no idea who their neighbors are. The first few years we did the outreach at my house up until we did 800 bouquets. And one of the reporters said, oh, your neighbors must hate you or like hate this. I mean, they're probably dread this time of year. And I said, my neighbors are all here. That is the difference. And, my hope is that this outreach inspires people in other ways to see people and their pain. It's like not even just Valentine's Day. We found a way to tangibly serve someone and bring a smile to their face on a day that's hard. Yeah. We found a way to do it without a ton of money, without a ton of time. I mean, it's a lot of time, but, compared to some of these other, people finding cures for cancer or finding, bigger things, in a very easy and tangible way, we can look at you and we could say, hey, I see your pain today. It's not forgotten and we love you. And we can hand them a bouquet. And the effect that has on that person is life-changing. I hope that we continue to do it, that you acknowledge your grocery clerk's birthday, the little things like, my little neighbor has been sick this winter and I try to make her dinner at least once a week, sometimes twice a week, sometimes more. I say, I'll do whatever you need, acknowledging that people need help and being there for them. There's a part of me that wants to be able to serve women on Mother's Day who have lost a child. And I wasn't ready to go down that road quite yet. These 5 years or these 5 outreach cycles have taught us a lot. We've honed in on best practices, but, and if it's not me that starts that outreach, maybe somebody else does. Maybe we inspire somebody else to say, hey, let's do this and find a tangible way to actually serve those people. I just think that the community that's built and the love like that we have on those days, people just want to be there. They want to feel it. And it just shows me that we need it. We need more of that. Yeah. We need to be able to go and be in places where we're not judged, where we don't feel inadequate, where we feel seen, where we feel important, where we feel like we're able to do something. Like how can we do that more? And I mean, I am so thankful every day that the Lord put it in my heart and that I listened.
That you listened is a very big deal, and that you executed on it, because you've created a space where the only thing that matters, I mean, from what I'm hearing you say, you have created a space where the only thing that matters that someone is walking through the door with intention, and it's good intention. And that's it. Right? I
mean, like, that is humankind at its greatest.
It is.
And it also, like, part of it too, I just sometimes, with all of the negativity the past few years in the media and everything, it's like, we are not innately bad.
No.
We are innately good.
Yeah.
And if this project doesn't show you that, I don't know how else you can. How you can look at thousands of people wanting to come and be a part of something, that they're like dying for the sign up to come out just to be there because they know that leaving there, will carry them through the next hard part. Or, being there, like, there's people there that volunteer. Who knows what pain you're walking through as a volunteer even. Are you single and you resent the holiday because you've not found love? Are you divorced and you don't like the holiday? Are you struggling with something else? I mean, we all have been, and even myself, 3 or 4 of the last years, like, I've been dealing with hard things during that time. And, it's gotten me through, it's where it's like, you might, some of these ladies would say, you saved me. I want to say, well, you saved me.
Yeah. And doing this perhaps at times has saved you.
Yes, it has. I mean, we walked in really hard, dark alleys in this life. And I shared with you guys the last time we talked, 3 years ago, I had my son. I was playing with my kids. My son punched me and accidentally, he's like 5, in my eye, and my retina ended up detaching. And I had a year of torture and torment. I had 13 surgeries. I did chemotherapy to try to stop this cellular replication in my eye, that every time they'd fix it, it would go ahead and redetach. I had to lay face down on a table because that's the way you recover from retina surgeries. All year, I lost so much. And the community, somehow there was just enough time in between those surgeries to pull off the second outreach. And then there was just enough time the 3rd year, and I was just healthy enough to do it again. And, that I've said, like, I don't know if I didn't have that, how I would have been able to get through, because ironically, a lot of the people that we've served in the outreach served me.
Well, perhaps you needed it as much as they did.
I did, but I think they probably looked at it as, wait, how can we help? I mean, we probably had 150 dinners delivered to our house. I have 4 kids, I didn't drive my car for 10 months, not one time. I missed every game. I couldn't get on an airplane. I couldn't be there. I couldn't wrap their Christmas presents. There was so much that I felt like I missed, but it opened my eyes to more compassion for people, less judgment.
Yeah.
And just seeing that, full circle of caring for people and how it helps them to care for you back. I mean, I had one of my ladies that I met through my business, and then as a part of the outreach, brought me my favorite wine with like a really long straw because I had to lay on this table. Somebody sent me an iPad with a remote control so that I could watch it on the floor. And people sent my kids gifts, and they sent, one of the ladies in the community sent a massage person to my house and then came and did like IVs to help me recover in my house, like as a gift. I can't even imagine, but people just don't know what shoes you're walking in. And
we have a sign in my kids' playroom that says, be kind. You never know what battle someone's fighting.
Yeah.
And I feel like you kind of are the epitome of this.
Well, look, sometimes like I'm handicapped now, technically. I mean, I'm blind. Right. I'm fully blind in my right eye.
That's
and I park
incredible.
in a handicapped spot. And if you saw the sides of my car, you would not want me parking anywhere near you. anyways, but I sometimes feel like when I get out of my car in a handicapped spot, like people look at me.
Right.
And I want to say, I'm blind. I can hardly freaking see. Did you see how cattywampus I'm parked in that big spot? And that was my third time.
You're like, this was not on purpose. No. I tried.
But how likely might I have been 5 years ago to look at somebody the same way?
Yep.
And, you just never know, like through my eyes, what I see. And I think sharing our pain and acknowledging pain, brings a whole different light to the way we view each other. The same person getting out of the car that has mental illness that almost just took their life the night before. You don't know who it is. The person could be battling cancer. They could be, battling a husband that's cheated on them, whatever it is. We just have to give people grace.
And you talking about, I think that you speaking so plainly and openly, when we had our first conversation about your life and what had happened with your eye and how that had been so challenging for you. I think when people are brave enough to just share their stories openly and organically, it becomes a really disarming moment. And whoever is listening then feels that there is space held for them and whatever they want to talk about as well. You do that so well. And you did it in our first conversation. And I was like, this is really something. We need to tell this story. She's an incredible person.
Well, I feel like of all the times that I shared, and man, if you go back into my Instagram posts, I was very, very vulnerable in some of the times, not understanding why the pain. Why did I have to go through so much pain and so many surgeries only to be blind at the end? Why didn't you just make me blind from the beginning? Why didn't the first surgery we just decide it's not going to work? And, we tried so hard to save my vision and it didn't work in the end. But what did I learn in that time? I definitely learned lessons that are probably far more valuable than me still having my eye. But of all the things I shared and how wicked people say this world is, not one person was ever mean to me. Not one person ever wrote a negative, like, suck it up, you could be this. I always was sure to say, like, it's not lost on me that it's just my eye. Look, I understand there's women like me that are dying right now in a bed with cancer, and that's not lost on me. I'm not looking for a pity party, but I'm sharing how I feel.
It's also relative. That's really hard for you, and that's okay. But I bet it made you feel really grateful for that other eye.
Shoot, yeah. Oh, now I'm like a nervous wreck. I mean, knowing that I have this disorder called PVR, if my other eye has trauma, the same thing will happen. Like,
okay, so we need to just, I don't know why you're not even wearing protective goggles at this time. We need, I think, feel like maybe bigger, maybe more. More, we need you to be able to see. We need you to continue helping people and growing this.
My husband and I went on a trip a few years ago, kind of like at the end of all the surgeries. I was kind of feeling like for about a year and a half there, I lost a little bit of myself, and it took a little time to come back. Yeah. And we were just looking at this beautiful landscape, and, I said, like, why would you even go anywhere if you couldn't see? Just like the reality of like things we take for granted. Mm-hmm. Why would I get on a plane and fly 12 hours to a place if I couldn't see it,
Maybe you could smell it. Maybe you could hear different things. This? Maybe you could taste different foods.
Ironically, so we were in France and we had never been, and we were in like the countryside, and the article that was in, and we found this place like last minute, luxury resorts. I Googled and it was like this great deal. Andrea Bocelli had performed there like a month earlier. And there were pictures of him walking the resort with his people. And I'm thinking, golly days, he doesn't see.
Well, there you go.
He's still out there. Yeah. Well, we're just going to pray for that one good eye that I have.
Right, I'm going to keep that eye in my prayers. Okay.
Well, my sister, my bad eye, I had to have a couple procedures to open it because it like was really little. Just all the ligaments and stuff were all stretched out, and they call me little eye. But now we got it looking like pretty much like my other eye.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would have no idea.
Yeah, I had something called a muellerectomy where they like flip it up and they shorten that mueller ligament. And that I've had 2 of those. So the first one lasted like 8 months, and then I had it again. And now I'm like a year into this one, and it's
all right. Let's pray this one sticks.
Yeah. I think there's more invasive things they can do, but that was pretty non-invasive.
It looks great.
Yeah.
First of all, you look awesome.
I'm not little eye anymore, and I don't have to wear a patch.
No, I know. And when I first signed on to this, I was like, this is the mom of 4 kids who has like her biggest undertaking in a few weeks. You are doing the most. You look fabulous.
Oh, golly. Thanks.
You do. Okay. I have one final question for you because I don't want to take up too much of your time. But what do you hope that people take away from your story and the work that you're doing to support what is in the community? You've talked so much about kindness and seeing people through different lenses and how people pay it forward. But what would be the one thing that you're like, I hope someone walks away with this?
In a very emotional place, I am the way I am because of God. I'm a Christian. And without him, none of this would be possible. And we are really just treating our people and our fellow humans the way that we were intended to treat them. And it's a beautiful thing if if we all treated each other that way, the way, we were commanded to live, this world would be so different. And I hope that when people would look at me, they would know that I'm different because I have Christ. And I know we haven't talked about that on here, but that is what's different about me.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. That's a brave thing to share.
Yeah. Especially in a secular world, it is, but it's the truth. There's an old song that we listened to as kids and now it's remade, but there's, it's called You'll Know We're Christians by Our Love. Mm-hmm. We'll march hand in hand and together we'll show the world that God is in this land and they'll know we're Christians by our love. So, as much as
I know it well, Ashley, I know it well.
Remember that? And I can't think of a more beautiful thing than to think of all these people coming together, and marching out into this land to care for one another. And, it's not, you can't really even argue it. What's wrong with wanting to live life that way?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. What's wrong with wanting to be kind to someone who is missing something that you have, or even who has experienced something and lost it and you haven't even experienced it, but you're hoping to, right?
Yeah.
Even for those who have never been married and are hopeful in their journey to find someone. There's absolutely nothing wrong with putting yourself out there and trying to care for someone else, no matter the time or the place or in what way you're doing so. And I think that you are setting such a brilliant and beautiful example for not only your kids, but all of us who are watching.
Well, your faith is sometimes hard. And, sometimes I tend to leave it by the wayside and just try to show by the way we live, and people say, why are you different? Well, this is why. I'm just living the way we were supposed to. Treat others how you want to be treated, right?
Golden rule.
The second commandment is love your neighbor as yourself.
You're certainly exemplifying that.
How many times do we hear that? So yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And I'm encouraged by the way people have loved this project like I do. That's really encouraging. And I just can't wait to see the way we can, one by one and city by city and widow by widow, we can just love one another better and do a better job.
Well, I'm very serious when I say that you have inspired me, and I am definitely going to reach out to you after we are done chatting about possibly doing something in my neck of the woods, because there's nothing like that. I live about 13 miles outside of the city of Chicago, and we have nothing like that.
And you don't have to start it huge.
No, it could be little.
It could be in your kitchen the first year of the 15 people you and 2 of your friends know. And then we help build an infrastructure to be able to have more. And, and then, gosh, in 10 years, there could be North Chicago, South Chicago, East Chicago, West Chicago.
The good news is I happen to know a little something about arranging.
Well, that's why, it's kind of my hope that, if we, if somebody comes to me, I can give, for a lot of people, that's the hard part. What vase, what flower, what's the recipe? So I feel if we can give you that, now you have that. Most people don't have the access to getting the flowers, the access to the vases. What do I do? And actually, somebody wrote to me about, could I just buy the arrangements at the grocery store? Just the pre-made Valentine's ones? And you could, But there's something about standing at those tables next to people that you don't know,
putting them
hearing
together,
their stories. And yeah, I mean, it's so nostalgic to like think of it that way, you know, breaking bread together, you know, eating together. You know, we ask for meals to be donated because I feel like when people have a sandwich or a slice of pizza or a cup of coffee, they're more inclined to stay and talk. And so, you know, I said, no, it's really important that you build these things together because that's where the community is built, you know, with the work. It's not just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's amazing what happens when you get together to do something. Not exactly like this, but I had a very close friend. I have a group of girlfriends who come over once a month for dinner called our dinner club. And one of them lost their father and it was absolutely awful. And she was trying to figure out what to do to honor his life. And they were going to have celebration of life. And she was like, do I cater it? So I said, you know what? I'm pretty savvy in the kitchen. Let's all get together. I'll cook all the food. We'll do all the flowers. And these other 7 girls are going to get together with us and they're going to help. And that morning we put together all of the flowers for her house and we put together all of the sandwiches and the food. And one of us, you know, stood at the little bar table and served glasses of wine and the other people filled the table with more sandwiches and at the end of the day, you know, something that we were kind of grumbling about and we're like, we're so busy, but we want to do this for this person. But, you know, you're a human and you're busy and everyone has children and life. At the end of the day, it was really incredible what happened. And it was that all of us said, we got so much more out of doing this
by serving
than we think she got. And she was, I mean, that had the most gratitude, but I felt so much like that changed my life. Doing that and being there for that person throughout their pain and witnessing it and trying to act as a support and serving her, really kind of changed the game for us, for all of our friendships and just for the way that we looked at life and losing parents and stepping into someone else's shoes. So in a slightly similar way, I completely understand what you're saying. And I get how this has changed your life. Yeah. And it's beautiful.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing that. Like I said, I mean, she'll never forget that.
Yeah, exactly. And guess what? Neither will I.
Yeah.
Well, Ashley, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you for learning about the story and wanting to share it. I mean, I think that's awesome.
It's an incredible story. What more can we do? And I think that we will totally continue this conversation, especially being that, you know, we are a floral company and you are doing something absolutely incredible. But thank you for sharing and for being so open and honest and for taking the time out of your very busy schedule, I'm sure.
I hear somebody screaming for me at this moment. I don't know if he quite knows where I am. He might think he's been left.
You're still there.
I'm here.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Have a great afternoon.
You too.